Hey guys, I wanted to show you a little project that I built. As you can see, I made a digital button panel. This is basically or will be an open source alternative to Game Glass. I used Game Glass for quite a while when I started out, and I had a few difficulties with it. First, it's always online. It needs a server that you can connect to. The thing runs locally. I do not use any information generated by this tool. There's a user config file, and I will post the code online. There are some third libraries that I use, of course, but nothing major. So what does the thing do? I use vJoy. Some people might already are familiar with this. If you use Joystick Gremlin, vJoy is a virtual joystick controller. So all of these buttons are not mapped to any keyboard inputs, and I think I'm not sure about this, but I think I will keep it this way because I want to avoid people are taking over the connection and sending inputs that we don't want. Since I am not a huge programmer and I don't have that much experience in any network security, this is a very simple API, and all you can do is send a few joystick inputs to a virtual joystick, and I think it's somewhat safe. What can this do? There's a few types of buttons that you can define. There is a button, a normal momentary button. There's a toggle button. There's a hold button, which presses and holds the buttons for a few seconds or milliseconds. And there are toggle buttons and sliders. So you can do basically everything that you need. As of now, there are no hats or any crazy stuff. Maybe at some point I will also add the shield matrix or anything, but this will make do as of now, and this is the current state. So what you can do is, as you can see here, this is the config, and each button is a simple object, and there are there's some styling done here. Everything is totally customizable, and for the theme, I'm using Tailwind CSS. If you're familiar with some web development, you might have recognized the name. It's really simple to add up, and everyone can basically look up Tailwind and put these classes inside the buttons, and then it will automatically generate the different types of buttons. Everything here is generated based off that file, so nothing in here is really hard-coded. I could remove buttons, I could add buttons, but also maybe you don't want to label everything, or maybe you would just want to test, and there are a few things that you want to do. As you can see, there's button 61 to 65, and in the config you have the ability to define the range on where the buttons you want. So I'm starting here at 61, and then I go to 63, 62, 63, and so on. So it will create 5 buttons for me. And as you can see, there's 61 to 65. These are just standard buttons, and they will post the ID. The user has full control on the endpoint. Basically, you can configure a vJoy device, and then you just need to know on which IDs you want to have or anything else, and you need to know how many you have available, and then you can set the range, and then it will just create these buttons. If you want any custom color, or you can also change, of course, the default button content, and as well as the styling and the color, so everything will look the same. So you can define the templates, but you can also change a few other things here. What does this also support? So I think it's I have 2 modes. I have a sort of dependency and a subcontrol. let's maybe jump into the game. If you're familiar, if you press the Flight Ready button, the game will automatically start the engines, the shields, and the weapons for you. So if I would have a macro or a sequence and I would press that button, it would first go to Flight Ready, then enable all the engines, and then it would first enable the whole system, and then it would go engines, shields, and weapons, since I can define which buttons to press when the vJoy is starting. So when I press the button. So I marked a subcontrol, and a subcontrol is basically a dependency which does nothing, but it gives you a visual indication that the system is on. So let's press Flight Ready, and you can see these systems are green now, and they're actually on. And here from the EM signature, you can see them on. And if I press the engine button here, you can also see that the EM signature is not raising. Maybe the shields are much more power hungry. And you can see the shields are offline now. And if I press them again, engines and shields are going back up. Cool. So let's say we lift off. Oh yeah, what we also did is set the cruising speed to a default value, and then what we can also do is, let's say we have this now, and we check here, we go into flight mode. So let's say the VTOL, and we raise the gears, and you can see the VTOL mode is off and the gears are up now. But let's say we want to define a sort of set sequence that we always do when we're about to land. Let's maybe change the cruise limit. As you can see, the cruise limit was also set in game, and what we can do is, let's say we want to go into landing gear mode, and there's a sequence that I set. It will activate the gears, it will activate the mode, the VTOL mode, and it will also set the cruise speed to lower so I can fine maneuver. So let's do this, and you will also see which buttons are pressed when I activate the sequence. The button in itself I could also bind, but for now it doesn't do anything. It has only the dependencies on do this, and do this. You can see set, and default mode. This cruising speed is a little bit high for my taste. Maybe I should adjust the value, but you can also go into the config. Maybe I can show you this. Here, I set the IDs that need to be pressed on the slider, and here I can, let's say, instead of 5,000, let's make it 1,500. Save it. And now if we do the, I may need to reload here, and if we now go into VTOL mode, yeah, and now the SCM speed is also much lower. Okay, that's the first update. There are probably some features that I will still need to work on. I'm also looking for a developer who has maybe more experience than I am. I'm just a random dude that knows how to code a little bit. There's nothing fancy, and I'm looking for a contributor on GitHub so I can push this. What are the biggest major things to do is I would like to pack this up as an executable, so the server anyone can run the server, and no app will be built. This is really important to me. It will just be in a web page, and there's no weird apps, no app store, no advertisement, nothing. It's purely an open source project, and also it is not available for commercial redistribution. It is also important to me. I want this to be able so anyone can modify it, and the community can really make it their own. This is my first step, and I want to polish it with another developer, or maybe two, and we'll then gather some feedback on maybe a smaller group, and then we will release it to the public. So yeah, if you're a developer, please reach out.